some of the questions that people can ask in the comments.
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks. And hi everybody. Thank you for being here today. This is like a little bit of a typical real world event where it's terrible sleep, but lack of jet lag because I am here in the United States. So it's 2:30 in the morning or 2:40 in the morning. So really excited to be here. I wanted to talk today about shortening feedback loops with customer service ops. And as mentioned, I'm Julie Gunderson. I'm a DevOps advocate with PagerDuty. And at PagerDuty, we focus on real-time operations. And so I want to talk about why customer service is an important thing that we really need to start thinking about when we talk about DevOps and bringing them into our life cycle. So I'm just going to start out with some statistics here. So a customer is 4 times more likely to buy from a competitor if there is a problem on a service rather than related to price or product related. And 70% of buying experiences are now based on how customers feel they are being treated. And 62% of customers will share their bad experiences with others. And the reason that I'm talking about customers and the customers focus is because when we talk about digital operations, when we talk about why we're working to keep our systems reliable, it's because the focus is on the customer and that customer experience. And for digital businesses, customer service teams, they provide more than just response to tickets or customer reports. They're the customer's perception of the company and of the brand when that customer experiences issues and problems and questions. And oftentimes, we don't think back in the engineering about the customer service teams that are on the front lines that are right there with the customers. And in digital only environments, stress and confusion and anger that might be met with a smiling face and a calm voice as a physical service desk, that's increasingly met with chatbots and confounding phone menus and robotic voices. And there's really an opportunity for organizations to set themselves apart from competitors by strengthening that commitment to empowered and knowledgeable customer service teams. Because when you focus on the customer experience, that builds brand loyalty and that creates return customers, even when incidents happen. And incidents are going to happen because our systems are complex. And organizations with rigorous commitment to their customers, they're going to center customer needs in every interaction. And so we kind of want to talk a little bit about like the and cord here, right? Like Amazon famously borrowed the and cord concept from Toyota Production System to enhance the customer experience. And originally, the and cord was implemented on manufacturing lines to empower any worker to stop the line if there was a problem with the products being manufactured. But then Amazon adapted the concept for their digital operations. And when customer service agents notice that a product has repeated problems, they can pull that cord. They can place a hold on that item, rendering it unable to be sold unless all the issues are resolved. And so we want to get ahead of problems and incidents before they impact users. That's the goal that most all organizations strive to achieve. And as systems increase in complexity, it's more difficult to get to that preventative point where we're ahead of those issues. And when an incident happens, your customers might be the first to notice, especially in an environment where not all users are impacted. And so with that, I want to introduce, with some great word art here, what we're calling full case ownership. So we talk about full service ownership and owning the systems and our services in production. And when we talk about full case ownership, this is applying to customer service teams. And that's the operating model where customer service and support teams, they're empowered to own issues from first report to close, because then agents will have real-time visibility and context and automation and the direct ability to mobilize the right technical and operational teams to solve customer issues while proactively communicating with customers. And the benefits of full case ownership, they really extend throughout the business. And so as I mentioned, we want teams to be empowered to have that real-time visibility and context and automation. We want them to understand and know what's happening, and that there may be an incident in progress, or that these services may be impacted by something, which currently today, customer service teams oftentimes don't have the insight into what's going on or the ability to just bidirectionally communicate with engineering. And so some of these benefits are giving service agent that direct line into management and engineering to ensure that cases nearing and breaching SLAs are escalated for attention and resolved. And we want to give engineers a direct line to customer service to gather more information and deliver the right customer experience and response. Then we also want to empower agents to resolve cases end to end with a direct line of escalations to the team that can actually help them fix the problem, instead of trying to find out and Slack who they need to reach out to, or going through some sort of org chart to reach out to the right team. We want to simplify that process, because without full case ownership, customer service agents, they're less likely to be able to control their own destiny. They're accountable to some metrics that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, like time to resolution and customer satisfaction scores, but they should actually be empowered to resolve cases and tickets end to end. Because when your customers have issues with your service, even if the experiences is limited only to their environment, a strong customer service practice, it strengthens that brand loyalty, because poor customer experiences, those can just be amplified in the current social media landscape through outlets like Twitter and Facebook, and all of our ways that we have to make it easy for dissatisfied customers to air grievances publicly. And I can certainly think of experiences where I've done this, and maybe you have too. We've been frustrated with something. We haven't gotten the response that we've been looking for from those support teams. And so what do? We take to Twitter and we air our grievances, and we are actually just really trying to get help from somebody on Twitter. I mean, it's an important way for us to give feedback, but we don't want upset customers going to Twitter airing their grievances. We want to take care of them. And so going back to that Anden cord, the customer service teams, they need to be empowered to pull the cord in organizations as well, because customer service agents actually see issues just as users see them. They're able to aggregate and correlate reports. They can gather really important additional information from reporting users to enhance the response process. And they should be encouraged to escalate issues to the appropriate technical teams when the user experience is jeopardized. And so, as I mentioned, we look at full case ownership. So then we've got that model where the teams are empowered to now own these issues. And we want to provide the more positive outcomes for our customers, and creating that customer first and that customer focused culture is more positive than any marketing campaign. But that means putting the focus on your customer service agents. And oftentimes those customer support service agents, they aren't really thought of in the organization as the experts. Some organizations can treat folks as somewhat disposable, and they're really missing an opportunity with these customer service groups, because this can be feeders into the rest of the organization. So at PagerDuty, our support team, those team members have gone on to become members of product marketing, sales, engineering, customer success groups, because these folks understand what the customer experience is like in production. They really know how to keep the focus on those customers. But when we talk about the modern software development lifecycle, it doesn't end when code is checked into a repo and all the tests turn green. So that constant feedback loop from users back into development planning, that links user requirements directly to the product management phase of the cycle. And in real-time digital organizations, it's really easy for customer service teams to be overwhelmed with the amount of feedback and the channels the feedback is collected from. I mean, they're monitoring support forums, watching email threads, ticket queues, social media accounts, and collating reports from all those channels, it does require tooling and automation so tasks and data isn't lost. And organizations across various industries, they've seen the benefits of adopting these shared goals and purposes across different teams. And so we want to include customer service teams in larger initiatives like DevOps transformation and automation projects, because it's going to increase the effectiveness of customer-focused teams. We also want to improve the day-to-day work of customer service teams because it improves the experience they provide for the customers. I mean, everyone has a horror story about contacting a customer service department and being met with someone who's clearly miserable. And that interaction, it doesn't create a positive experience for the customer, who then takes to Twitter, as I mentioned. And so customer service teams, they need that same management attention that any team does. They need that same ability to grow and to learn from incidents like we talk about, and to be in those blameless environments, because their roles contribute so much to that customer experience. And so in a nutshell, think of it like this: happy agents, happy customers. And we want to empower customer service teams to reach out to other teams and advocate for the customers. And that creates new communication channels and opportunities for that cross-functional collaboration. Because if you take away anything like this from this talk, your customer service team, it can serve as that gateway into the organization for technical personnel who are still building skills, and a close relationship with the engineering team and the development teams. It supports that growth. And as I mentioned, those agents that transition into other teams, they have a completely unique view of the way our customers experience issues. And so just kind of some metrics that I mentioned a little bit before, but when we talk about full case ownership, it directly leads to higher customer satisfaction, or CSAT scores, by increasing what we call first contact resolution. This used to be called first call resolution, but now with so many different methods for customers to reach out, we call it first contact resolution, so that when that agent is on the phone with that customer in that support situation and there's a degraded service, they can actually relay that information back to that customer in that first contact, and not say put them on hold for 5 minutes to 2 hours to try to figure out what's going on and if there's a problem. So we want to increase that first contact resolution, because I don't want multiple interactions. Customers don't want multiple interactions. The expectation now that we're giving people is becoming that single call, single contact resolution. And so when agents have more visibility and more context into whether back-end systems are impacted, they're able to communicate with customers about the existing incident and the progress being made towards resolution, without the customer having to call back in or get escalated to that next tier and hand it off to somebody and hand it off to somebody and hand it off to somebody. And everyone in your organization, they should be incentivized to minimize the impact of incidents and outages across that whole digital product space. And teams working to improve their incident response capabilities, they often include 2 metrics. So that's mean time to acknowledge and mean time to resolve in their goals. And reducing these 2 numbers, it means shortening the time that it takes to recognize an incident and the time it takes to fully resolve that incident. And so when we look at the importance of customer service teams, and being on the front line and getting those first calls, that can really shorten down the mean time to acknowledge, because those teams may be the first to really put that pattern together that there's an incident going on. Now, just to let you know, MTTA and MTTR, they're definitely somewhat blunt instruments. And so you want to maybe consider looking at mean time to acknowledge and resolve based on actually incident severity, because this is going to allow the teams to prioritize improving response times for the highest severity incidents first, that are having the greatest impact on that overall customer experience. And you can read more about that. We have an ops guide about this, customerserviceops.pagerduty.com. But that's a talk for a different day. So we also want to think about the fact that customers, they're not constrained to regular business hours anymore. They might have questions and problems or other concerns about your product and your services at any time of the day or night. And so you want to provide key customers with the kind of responsiveness that they deserve, and that can be challenging if it means fully staffing a response desk 24/7 for just a few strategic accounts. So moving your customer service to real-time response, that kind of gives the organization the flexibility to provide personalized and creative solutions to key customers. So you can have a specially trained team that can be on call for strategic accounts, and they're empowered to solve problems and make customers happy, or they're empowered to escalate those problems to the right engineering teams. They might be empowered to kick off the major incident process. And so think about, if it's hard to have that team that's staffed for 24/7, having a team that can be notified as needed rather than fully staffed and just waiting there for incidents to come in, maybe playing some solitaire, because you want to scale that customer experience effectively as businesses grow. And oftentimes organizations have premium support. I mean, we do here at PagerDuty too, for that customers can buy and for VIP customers. But when we really look at overall trends and how we want to treat our customers, the transition is really coming for all of customer service to focus on all of those customers, not just our premium support ones, but everybody else, so that there aren't just people who only get support 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. So we want to think about now the customer service role within incidents. So when an incident triggers and a technical team is mobilized for response, these teams, these customer service teams, they should know exactly what services are impacted and hopefully know what the extent of the incident is. And so we really refer to this as blast radius of an incident. And while blast radius kind of sounds scary, it's meant to be a measure of how much a service is impacted, how many features, the depth of which they're affected, and discovering whether they're slow or completely offline. And today, it's really hard for developers to determine customer impact. And that's where customer service teams can help, because they can help development understand customer impact by associating those inbound customer complaints to technical issues or incidents to help drive those priority. And complex meshes of interconnected microservices, they make determining the blast radius of an incident difficult. And so if your team also practices other methodologies like A/B testing or canary deployments, not all users may be experiencing the issues in the same way. And as a customer service team receives reports of issues during an incident, that data becomes part of the impact of the incident, and it should be incorporated into the resolution process. And then your customer service team, they're also in that unique position to help confirm the impact of the incident with regards to your end users. And this is really important when you have a contractual SLA or service level agreement with your users, particularly if different customers might have different SLAs. So your customer service teams, they actually have the insight to know when your services are reaching their SLA for certain customers, and they can alert their responding team. And this is an important piece of information to manage. And engineering teams, oftentimes, they don't have the visibility into those contractual agreements. So managing customer SLAs aids in the prioritization of issues during incidents. And if restoring some services first will maintain an SLA for a customer or a category of customers, customer service can also advise on that. And they can advise on whether or not an incident should be escalated or have its severity increased based on the customer intelligence that they're receiving. So more customer impact could mean higher severity levels for the incidents, or more responders included in the triage, or more stakeholders informed. And then your customer service teams and leaders, they're also essential participants when it comes to codifying the communication practices for incidents. And they should be helping to create the messaging for customers and templatizing responses and managing communication channels. So you'll hear us talk about liaisons and that a lot within the incident response process. And great liaisons for customers come from the customer support teams, because not all of your customers are going to be watching your social media accounts for updates or to even verify if there's an issue going on with your services before reporting that to your support team. So communications from the customer service team during an incident should be built into templates with clear information about the services impacted and where to go for more help. And that'll also reduce some of the chaos during the incident response process. And then post-incident follow-up. So we talk about postmortems a lot within the DevOps lifecycle, right? But one of the things that we want to do is give these agents the ability to follow up after an incident is over, because many customers, they're going to figure out when a service is restored and things are back to normal when they try to access the service. They might be watching your status page or status updates. But for customers that report issues and for customers with that priority support or other white glove services, your customer service teams, they're there in that full case ownership, that end-to-end model. They're there to reach out personally to let users know when the incident is over. But that also means that they need to be kept in the loop within that incident response process. And depending on the nature of the services impacted and user interest, your customer service team, it might notify users when the services are verified to be restored. But one of the other things that those customer service teams can do is notify customers after that postmortem is held, because it gives the customer service team that extra data to present to the users about the impact of the incident, the resolution, and the long-term plans for prevention. The customer service team, that they should follow the incident reports in that full case ownership methodology so that they can provide the customer with a consistent point of contact through issue resolution and through that post-mortem. And if you've had an incident that violates a contractual SLA, that definitely warrants that personal response from your organization, particularly if refunds or credits are due to impacted users. And even if those contractual obligations aren't broken, customer service teams can identify users that might need that additional attention, assurances, or incentives after an incident. And so you definitely want to look at transforming some of those tooling and workflows to help provide better customer experiences in the digital world. Now, obviously, this one is focused on PagerDuty. But think about using tools with integrations that are going to allow those teams to collaborate with technical and sales teams so that they can provide that experience, because these customer service teams, they're the first point of contact, they're that friendly face, and they already have their own tooling and workflows. And oftentimes those tooling and workflows are disjointed from the rest of the organization. They're disjointed from the tools that application developers use. And so you want to start looking at how you can integrate customer service tools and development tools more closely, because as mentioned, these customer service teams serve as a key function within your organization, and you should really incorporate them into that DevOps lifecycle, because they're going to help collect and collate that customer feedback. And that data should also help inform product decisions and prioritize improvements and new features, and help technical teams focus on the work that's going to have the greatest impact. And so integrating customer service tools with software development tools like Jira, it helps shorten that feedback loop to allow the customer service teams to advocate for the customer's needs in the planning stages. And development teams that are in close contact with customer service teams, they benefit from having better real-world user information that can be incorporated into all those new features and improvements. And automation also helps customer service teams meet the needs of customers, even as more interactions are possible via digital channels. So again, that goes back to templated responses to common questions that can still be personalized for communication with the customer. So we want to think about providing that extra level of care where an automated response might alienate a frustrated user. How can we help that? So software integrations between sales tools and customer service tools and development tools, we want to think about that as giving the team a 360-degree view of the needs and priorities of customers. So just think about your customer service teams and how important they are within your organization and how you can incorporate those teams into the DevOps lifecycle and start bringing them more in, because at the end of the day, you can really shorten your customer feedback loops by starting to listen and give those customer service teams the empowerment and the knowledge and the ability to communicate with the rest of the organization. And so with that, I just want to, if we have any time, open it up for Q&A, because it looks like I am just at my time. So I will pause. Hey, Walter.
Hey, very nice talk. At the company that I do my dollar day job at, we also do customer service things, and I think it's always really important to properly think about how you can create the right experience for customers. And from that perspective, this was quite a nice talk. Can you talk a little bit about how to do this in really small teams and organizations? Because having a customer service team that is separate from the technology team that's solving the problems is obviously for companies the size or mine a thing, but then there's also lots and lots of small companies. And how would you see it working there?
I think smaller organizations tend to have more of an advantage here because they haven't separated those teams out. So people are much more closely aligned. So if anything, I think we can kind of learn from the smaller organization and bring that communication back. I mean, if you think about those smaller organizations, everybody kind of knows everybody, right? They have the ways to communicate. Then we grow. And then all of a sudden, I can't just tap you on the shoulder, Walter, when there's an incident, because now we've got a team with multiple application owners. I might not know who owns that application. So really, when we start to scale and we look at scaling those customer service teams, that's where we need to, as large organizations, remember that our customer support teams are there and are on the front lines, and
Yeah.
that they need to be able to tap us on the shoulder. So I'd say, just an answer to your question, I think the smaller organizations actually have a leg up here.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's always a tipping point, right? Well, as you say, they're like quite small, and then you start to grow, and then slowly until you have to make the cut, and then the story that you just told becomes. I'm afraid we are out to close.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I didn't put it on my slides, so if you want to join the PagerDuty community, you can go to community.pagerduty.com. You can read more about this at customerserviceops.pagerduty.com. Myself and Mandy Walls wrote that. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Julie_Gund. And Walter, thanks for such a great time here. And hopefully I'll get to actually come to Amsterdam to present maybe next year.
Next time, yeah, that would be really great. We're all looking forward to an in-person event next year. It was just a little bit too early to do it this year, but yeah, definitely looking forward to that. I'm hoping that you stick around, and in the main building there's quite a few people. You can do a bit of socializing, and that's of course for everyone. Right now, this is the only talk in this building, and we'll continue in the main building with a few more talks, and then we'll be back here in about 45 minutes to do the next talk. So thank you very much, Julie. I hope you have a good day, good evening, I guess.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.